Reimagining Success, Episode 9. You're listening to Reimagining Success, the podcast where we help you reimagine your future, designing a life and career beyond the 9 to 5 that allows you the freedom, flexibility and fulfillment that you've been dreaming of. I'm your host, Anna Lundberg. Now, let's get started on those dreams. Hello there, I hope you're well and having a good week. So the last few weeks we've been talking about the client generation bootcamp that we did over in the One Step Outside Facebook group. We then opened up and already closed the doors for the Fast Track Your Business in 90 Days program. And in both of these, we have been and will be talking about branding. And while most people understand the importance of a strong brand when it comes to a business, the importance, I think, of a personal brand may be less obvious. And I think sometimes it can feel a bit icky to a lot of us. So I thought this is something that's very important. It's really core to how you run and present your business when you're working for yourself, whether, as we'll see, you're a freelancer, an entrepreneur, a business owner, or even an employee, actually. So however you define yourself, personal branding is really important. And believe me, it's not as icky as it may sound. So over the next few weeks, we're going to be exploring the importance of personal branding, why it's such a key part of, again, your career, your business, how you portray yourself, and also, of course, how you're going to go about actually building that personal brand. So we'll be doing a series now of several different episodes right here on the podcast, as well as on the blog on onestepoutside.com/blog. We'll be exploring the importance of personal branding, how you can go about finding your story to tell, how you can get comfortable with presenting that story, and then how you can begin to actually craft and present that story on your different social channels online, as well as actually offline, which is important too. So first of all, whether you realize this or not, the fact is that you already have a personal brand. Your personal brand is essentially what people are thinking and saying about you when you're not there. So how do you think other people perceive you? What are they saying about you as an individual? And what are they saying about your work? What image are you perhaps unconsciously portraying by the way you behave, by the way you act, both in the real world and in the online space? Because that image exists whether you want it to or not. And you now have a choice as to whether you actively manage it or just leave it to chance and let people think what they think. Now, important to say here that this is not about lying or creating a fake persona. And in any case, you can't have 100% control over what people think. That's the point. But it is about doing what you can do to be who you want to be and to portray that effectively, both online and offline, so that the perception that people do have of you is more or less in line with who you really are and how you want to be seen. So it's not lying, it's not faking anything. It's just making sure that you're actually conveying the message that you want to be conveying. So building your personal brand intentionally is going to allow you to tell your story as you want it to be told, to establish yourself as an expert and leader in your field, and to connect with your customers and clients beyond just talking about your products and services. But before we get into personal branding, let's explore a little bit about what branding is, because when you start a business, it's easy to obsess over the name of the business and finding a domain and all the social media handles and so on that are actually available. And then after that, you get caught up in the excitement of working on your website for months and months, briefing and getting that beautifully designed logo. Of course, ordering fancy business cards. I have about 5 sets of different business cards from the last 5 years. And after that, it's all about posting pretty pictures and inspirational quotes on Facebook and Instagram, right? And for most people, that is what they think of when they hear the word branding. And definitely it's being used in different ways. And, a graphic designer would define it in a different way to how I define it. But in a way, those logos and business cards and so on are what branding at least originated to mean, because the word branding even comes from the Old Norse brander, which meant to burn, and actually referred to branding livestock. So, you need only think about brands like Nike, Apple, McDonald's, and you'll find that you immediately associate them with that famous swoosh sign, the Apple logo with a bite taken out of it, or the golden arches of McDonald's. And a logo can be a very powerful symbol of a brand. But branding is so much more than just a logo. And by the way, when you're starting out, nobody's going to recognize your logo anyway. So even if you have a beautiful logo, that doesn't really yet stand for anything. Nike, Apple, McDonald's, they've been working hard for many decades to get that automatic perception, automatic link to not just their business name, but also what that business and brand stands for. So your brand is what that logo represents. It's the bigger mission of your company. It's the company's values. It's the kind of products and services it provides. And yes, it is also the graphic and design elements that are associated with it as well. Okay, so where does personal branding fit in? Well, think of lots of famous people that come to mind. In coaching, people often talk about Tony Robbins, who you may have come across. Oprah is a big one, who's pretty much well known in any industry. Richard Branson, let's consider him. So he has a massive personal brand, far beyond the brands of his actual businesses and companies. His Twitter bio declares that he is a Thai-loathing adventurer, philanthropist, and troublemaker who believes in turning ideas into reality. And he really uses that strong personal brand and personality to support his different ventures and to get people to buy into his companies. So taking Twitter, for example, he's got more than 12 million followers on Twitter, but that really dwarfs the Twitter accounts of his companies. Virgin Atlantic has less than, well, in fact, all of these are less than 600. Virgin Galactic, very popular now, exciting about going into space, has 216,000 at the moment. Virgin Media, perhaps even less sexy, 266. So, no one even gets close to the 1 million mark, and he has 12 million followers on his personal account. This is important because as an entrepreneur, and certainly Richard Branson shows this, you're likely to start more than one business over the years. Because your current business venture may fail, and of course, hopefully not, but it's possible. Or you may simply decide to sell your shares, to shut this down, to move in a different direction, to move to a new project. But your personal brand, you as an individual, is going to live on. So even if you decide to move from consulting to coaching, from working with corporations to smaller organizations, making a complete U-turn, you still exist, even if the business doesn't. Okay, so who needs personal branding? Why is it important? Well, just 1/3 of consumers apparently trust messages from a brand, but as many as 90% trust messages from someone they know. That's why, ratings and reviews and recommendations, testimonials are so important. So, okay, you can't become best friends with every single person on the internet, but what you can do is allow people to get to know you a bit better, to give them an idea of who you are, what you stand for, so that they can know, like, and trust you enough to buy into your message and your offer. And people are naturally interested in other people and their stories. They want to know why you set up your business in the first place, what you stand for, what skills and strengths you bring to the table. So cultivating a strong personal brand is going to give that personal face to your business and allow you to develop stronger relationships, which in turn is going to lead to broader exposure. And especially if you're in a service-based business, your style and personality are absolutely core to what the business stands for and delivers, because really your business is you. So even if you don't think of yourself as an entrepreneur, maybe you're a freelancer. We can argue over the titles here. You may work on a project-to-project basis. As a freelancer, a personal brand is absolutely critical for you as well, because it's going to help people find out about you and what you do, build credibility and trust so that more clients seek out your services. And ultimately, a strong personal brand is going to mean that clients will come to you instead of you having to hustle and chase people. And that's going to save you both time and money. And by the way, personal branding is important to you even if you're still an employee. So if you want to be top of mind for an interesting assignment or a promotion, you're going to need to build your personal brand internally within the company. So back at Procter & Gamble, back in my corporate days, I was taught the model of the professional PIE, P-I-E. So that was performance, image, and exposure. Now, yes, performance is fundamental because, of course, you have to deliver quality results in your day-to-day work. But unfortunately, working away in a corner just isn't enough. So performance, the classic nice girls don't get the corner office, although ironically, she's working away in the corner there. She doesn't get that big corner office. Putting your head down, working hard is not going to be enough, because what if nobody sees you? What if you're not actually delivering results, by the way? But let's assume you're delivering results, but nobody knows about you. That's not really going to be very effective. Image, that's the I, is what other people think of you. And that's really your personal brand to some extent. It's what people think of when they think of your name, their work, how they describe you to other people. Anna is so good at da-da-da, or, oh, Anna's been really da-da-do in that meeting. And then the final piece, E, exposure, is about making sure that people actually know who you are and are seeing what you do. So, I'm just thinking back to my time as an assistant brand manager, for example. At the beginning, certainly, I was performing really well the first few months, off to a great start, did a massive number of initiatives, sort of unprecedented number of projects and so on in a short period of time. But I only really had exposure in my limited little team. So then in my next assignment, it was about moving to a different department, having exposure in a different part of the organization and across the other side of the floor, even physically in the office, so that other people, other levels of management as well, by the way, so not just your peers, but more senior people as well, important, get exposure to what you're doing. Actually, again, I'm thinking of when I was a bit more senior, as in my digital role, and when I was heading up effectively the digital department in our beauty fine fragrance department. I tended to often go to my comfort zone, which was the more junior people who I knew personally from experience were actually executing the work. They were doing the websites with agencies, they were working on initiatives. However, that's not enough. Working with people more junior to me, as much as that helps them, doesn't do anything for my exposure and image with the people who are then deciding promotions and so on. So then it was important to have those meetings with the vice presidents, the general managers, the senior managers, directors and so on, and even beyond just that floor, but beyond our department. Actually, I began to work as sort of an internal consultant with other brands across Europe, with the digital lead team over in Boston, I think they were located in America. So, there's so many ways in which to think about this. So even as an employee, or maybe especially as an employee, don't think that personal branding is not important. You may not call it personal branding, but think about that professional pie, the performance, image, and exposure. So doing a good job is not enough. And we'll explore this much more in the coming weeks, but that's just a way to think about it. So whether you're an entrepreneur, freelancer, small business owner, employee, think about that this is an incredible important part of how you do your work and how you importantly progress. And by the way, as an employee, if you're looking to change jobs or careers, you're also going to want to be building your personal brand outside of the company. So having a reputation as someone who knows your stuff in the industry is going to serve you really well when you go for a role in a company where no one knows you personally. And of course, if you're trying to get into a different industry, different field, that's something to think about as well. So that's where networking, maybe another uncomfortable word, comes into the picture, but making sure that you have an image and exposure in the new industry that you're moving towards. Same actually, if you're building a new business, so not just as an employee. If you're trying to pivot and move into a different direction, work with a different kind of company, different organization, different industry, reposition the work you're doing. Again, my example is I came from high-end luxury, beauty, big company, big business background. And that was great. And that led to, of course, recruiters coming to me for those types of roles. It led to consulting contracts with those types of companies. But actually, I felt I wanted to work with smaller organizations, with less corporations, with startups, with entrepreneurs, and to move away from just the luxury beauty focus and work on other areas that were more meaningful to me, that were closer to my definition of success and my values and so on. So that was not easy. Those roles that I wanted to move towards weren't coming automatically, because what was coming to me was the brand that I had created as a digital expert, yes, as a brand expert, but always in the big company, FMCG, as we call it in England, fast moving consumer goods, or CPG in America, luxury brands and so on. So especially if you're changing direction from corporate to starting your business or changing sector, managing your personal brand is going to become even more important, and doing that intentionally. So you're crafting a new story. Again, it's not lying. It's not faking something. It's not creating an image of something you're not. It's just being clever about looking at your past experiences, your transferable skills and strengths, looking at, why you want to move into this new area, why you're setting up this business, why it's important to you, what your bigger vision and mission is, and then communicating that clearly. Okay, so that was a short little episode thinking about why personal branding is important. So what is branding? There's so many different ways of thinking about it. What exactly is a personal brand? And we will look more about this next week. Think about people like Richard Branson. I'd encourage you to think about people in your own sphere. We don't all have to be as big as Branson. In fact, we don't need to be. We don't need to be known in the entire world. We only need to be known in our own little world where our business is operating. So have a think about what your little world is. Look to other people who are influencers in that space and look at how their personal brand comes across. What can you learn from looking at the type of content they're putting out, how they're showing up in the world? Okay, so hopefully you've bought into the fact personal branding is important. Begin to understand why, whatever your current situation, how on earth do you go about creating and crafting that personal brand? Well, that is a great question. It is a big topic, and one that, as I said, we're going to be spending quite some time on. So next week already, we're going to be looking specifically at how you can go about crafting the story you want to tell, or more accurately, the story you want to be told, because again, we don't have full control over the story we're telling. Well, we can tell a story, but then that creates some kind of perception and image out in the world that's not 100% within our control. So we'll be looking at your why, your big mission, your core values, your unique set of skills and strengths, and also how you're going to back that up. So I hope you enjoyed that episode as we start the series on personal branding, such an important topic, and hopefully over the coming weeks we'll get you more comfortable and confident with the idea and with actually taking action to craft your own personal brand. So I look forward to seeing you back here next week when we'll talk about how you can begin to craft that story. Thanks so much, and bye for now. Thanks for listening to Reimagining Success with Anna Lundberg. If you're getting value from the show, I would be really grateful if you could give me a rating and review so that more people can find us and start reimagining success for themselves. Thank you so much for your support.